Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? That's right, it's been a long time since I've done a What Are We Eating video, so today, for you, the people, you get a 2-for-1 What Are We Eating video. The first meal we're trying is Stouffer'S Bowlfuls Philly Cheesesteak Mac and Cheese. This 14-ounce bowl costs $3.49 and consists of thinly sliced beef with red and green peppers, onions, mushrooms, and pasta in a creamy cheese sauce. And if you've ever wondered why Stouffer'S frozen meals are so delicious, you don't have to wonder anymore. They tell you right here. This one's made with real beef, freshly made pasta, contains 28 grams of protein, and is freshly made and simply frozen. Here's a list of ingredients in the Stouffer'S Bowlful. And the bowlful is certainly full of ingredients. And Stouffer'S was telling the truth when they said it's made with real beef. But what they didn't tell you is that it was ground and formed with additives. Which I guess isn't really a bad thing, because most of us eat hot dogs, sausages, and deli meats, which in most cases are all processed meats. The whole Stouffer'S Philly Cheesesteak Mac and Cheese Bowlful has 560 calories, 26 grams of total fat, 12 grams of saturated fat, 1 gram of trans fat, 65 milligrams of cholesterol, 1,480 milligrams of sodium, 54 grams of carbohydrates, 3 grams of fiber, 7 grams of sugars, and 28 grams of protein. Here's what it looks like right out of the box, and it looks like a decent amount of food. So here's the cooking instructions, and it goes into the microwave for 4 minutes on high, and then we pull the film back, give it a good stir, and then microwave for another 3 minutes. After cooking in the microwave for 4 minutes, it's time to give it a stir, and it looked to be pretty watery, but I guess that's from the 14% water solution that they added to the beef, which probably helped the pasta cook, so that might not have been a bad idea. And I've got to say, it smelled pretty darn good. Almost like a Philly cheesesteak. Oh, wait a minute. It is supposed to be a Philly cheesesteak mac and cheese. So once we got everything all mixed up, we put the cover back on and heat it for another 3 minutes. While the Philly cheesesteak mac and cheese bowl is finishing heating up, let's go over our second meal. The second meal we're trying today is not a Stouffer'S Bowlful, but a Stouffer'S MacFulls. I'm going to assume that calling it a MacFull means it's full of macaroni and cheese, but why couldn't you still call it a bowlful with macaroni and cheese? But in any event, this is Stouffer'S MacFulls Chicken and Mac and Cheese Broccoli Bowl, which is breaded white meat chicken, broccoli and pasta in a creamy cheddar cheese sauce. And just like the Philly cheesesteak mac and cheese bowl, this is 14 ounces and costs $3.49. This MacFull is delicious because it's made with real cheddar cheese, freshly made pasta, it has 32 grams of protein, and is freshly made and simply frozen. And here's the list of ingredients. And just like the Philly cheesesteak mac and cheese bowlful, there's a whole lot of ingredients. But come to find out, half of the ingredients are part of the chicken. No! The whole Stouffer'S MacFulls Chicken and Mac and Cheese Broccoli Bowl has 590 calories, 22 grams of total fat, 9 grams of saturated fat, a half a gram of trans fat, 70 milligrams of cholesterol, 1,510 milligrams of sodium, 66 grams of carbohydrates, 4 grams of fiber, 7 grams of sugars, and 32 grams of protein. Here's what it looks like right out of the box. And the chicken kind of looks like tater tots, which wouldn't be a bad thing considering all the ingredients in the processed chicken. And the directions are basically the same as the first one. Cook 4 minutes on high, stir, and then cook for another 2 minutes. While our MacFull cooks for 6 minutes, let's try our Philly cheesesteak mac and cheese bowlful, which cooked for a total of 7 minutes. we removed the plastic film and gave it a good mix. Once everything was thoroughly mixed, Mrs. Wolfpit went in shanking the mushrooms like prison snitches.
Ah! Boogeyman!
Mrs. Wolfpit was trying to be tricky and get the first bite, but those pieces of meat she was shanking were mushrooms, and Mrs. Wolfpit doesn't like mushrooms. So the joke was on her, and I got the first bite. The mushrooms were a decent size, and they were full of flavor for a frozen meal. That bite alone tasted like a cheesesteak, with the cheese sauce on the mushrooms. Then we went on a treasure hunt for the meat. And that's pretty sad when you call anything a cheesesteak, and there's more mushrooms in it than there is beef, and the mushrooms are bigger than the beef. Where's the beef? So we got several pieces on the fork and shoved them into my pie hole, and down the gullet they went. And the flavor was actually pretty good. It did taste like a cheesesteak, but I was getting that flavor from the cheese sauce, not the steak. We switched over to a spoon to make the last bite a little bit easier so we could load it up with a little bit of everything. And again, the mushrooms were plentiful and good size. The bite of everything looked okay, and it tasted pretty good. It tasted like a cheesesteak. Not a great cheesesteak, but it did have a good cheesesteak flavor. It was good enough that I went in for another big bite. And to be honest with you, the meat got lost in this dish. I would have rather seen them double up on the mushrooms and leave the meat out. The mushrooms were more substantial, and they were delicious. The mushrooms and the cheese sauce were the best things in this meal. So with all that said, I'm going to give Stouffer'S cheesesteak and macaroni and cheese bowl full a slightly above average score of 6 out of 10. After cooking for a total of 6 minutes, our chicken mac and cheese broccoli bowl is ready. The first thing I noticed after removing the plastic cover was how bright and vibrant the broccoli was. Which probably isn't going to make a difference with me because I loathe frozen broccoli. But I'm going to try it anyway, for you, the people, so you don't have to. So Mrs. Wolfpit gave it all a good mix. And right away, this looks much thicker than the previous meal, which was a little soupy. This is nice and thick, and I'm going to attribute that to the breading on the chicken, which I wish these frozen food companies would stop breading meat in a frozen meal. It's just never going to turn out right. But that's just my opinion. So we went in for a piece of broccoli first to get it over with, because I knew I wasn't going to like it. But still, for frozen broccoli, it looked pretty good. So into the old food chute it went. And I have to say, I was very wrong about not liking it. This broccoli was almost perfect. It didn't even taste like frozen broccoli. It still had great texture and great flavor and was not mushy whatsoever. This has got to be the first time I've ever enjoyed frozen broccoli. Kudos to Stouffer'S on that one. Next, we got a fork full of macaroni and cheese. And it looks pretty good. It looks like macaroni and cheese to me. And it tasted very good. The noodles were done perfectly. It had good flavor. A little bit more of the cheese sauce would have made it even better. But overall, I enjoyed the mac and cheese. But this is also funny because I'm not a big fan of Stouffer'S mac and cheese. So maybe Stouffer'S changed something to make their mac and cheese better, or my taste buds are going to crap. Next, we went in and tried a formed chicken slurry concocted breaded nugget. The chicken itself wasn't bad, but as I expected, the breading on the chicken was soggy and gummy. So then we finally went in and had a bite of everything. the mac and cheese, the broccoli, and the chicken. And the final bite was good, but again it could have used a little bit more sauce. But flavor-wise, the meal was delicious. Had the chicken not been breaded, I think it would have been a little bit better. The frozen broccoli and the macaroni and cheese were both pretty good. The chicken was okay. Overall, this meal was pretty good, and it wouldn't be bad to eat once in a while. So I'm giving Stouffer'S MacFull's Chicken Macaroni and Cheese Broccoli Bowl a 7 out of 10. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.